Alright, let's have a look at how to install PD Pro 8.2. You've probably seen it's available now, and what we want to do next is show you how to install that. Alright, so now first thing you'll need to do is open that zip file you downloaded from the BMT Micro Store, if that's where you bought it, and that will produce a folder similar to this. And one thing is that there is an important README file. If there is one in your delivery, be sure to read that. Open it and read it. All right. And one of the things it will tell you is that you should, if you have version 8.0 or 8.1, you should uninstall that. So after you've done the uninstall, you might still have a few files in the folder where it was installed, the old version 8.0 or 8.1. Those files might typically come from other plugins such as DoggyFX or Gertrudis for Dog Waffle, or Pixelan AnyFX. So these will not be uninstalled, and you probably don't want to remove them because after all you want to reuse them in 8.2 as well. So leave them in there and note the folder in which this was installed, and you'll want to make sure that you install in that same folder. Or if you have if you actually had it in a different folder, then you may need to reinstall those optional elements. We really recommend that you put the 8.2 installation in a folder called Program Files x86 and then folder. You can install it in other places, but some things will just behave a little bit differently. So let's not go into too much detail and see how to proceed next here. Installation wise, you'll want to double click this. Now before you do that, I also recommend scanning it for malware. You never know where it came from. Is it safe? You really should scan it with your antivirus, whatever that antivirus is, whether it's Kaspersky or ESET or Avira. Malwarebytes, another great one to use as well. And you know, don't assume that just because you have an antivirus and a very well-known antivirus company behind it, that it catches everything. You really want to give it your extra seal of approval and scan it for malware. We do that on our side too, by the way. Our products, before they get released, we scan them with quite a number of antivirus programs, and just to make sure that nothing got accidentally caught into the mix. So once you've done that, you're ready to go. Let's go and double click that. You could install it as administrator. You can run it as administrator. It's probably not necessary in general, but it might in some cases. If you are running UAC, if you have enabled user account control, and many of you may have that, you might have some problems during the installation with the regular mode. So in that case, I would suggest run it as administrator. But in most cases, you'll simply be able to open the file, double click it or open it in the right click menu, and then get started. So let's get going here with installation. Let's click next, and we'll just take the default folder. In this case, we already have a folder that's there because we had an earlier version with some of these extra plugins. We left that there, didn't delete it, so we should expect indeed this verification message. Yes, let's go and install on that. And we can keep it as such. You know, you could rename it Product Dog Waffle Howler 8.2 if you wanted to explicitly name it that way, but probably not really a whole lot of reasons to do so. But one thing that I would recommend on the next screen is to enable the desktop icon. Check this box here to create a desktop icon. That will make it easier for you to find it on your desktop and just launch it right from there. Alright, and then you click next, and finally we are ready to go. So let's go install this, and this will take just a few seconds. That depends, of course, on how fast your system is, how fast your hard drive is, and tons of other parameters, how much load there is on your system. I'm running this on a kind of a average to high-speed system. It's a Intel i7 chip, 2nd generation. And one of the last steps that this installation will ask you is to register this as a program that runs in as administrator. All right, so this may be necessary for most platforms, Windows Vista 7 or 8. You should run this as administrator to override UAC restrictions when it comes to temporary files that the program needs to create to work with. So there may be other reasons, and so all in all, we simply recommend to enable it to run as administrator. If you don't, you simply could close this. But if you don't, then you might have some problems during the use of DogWaffle. And if you do, then, well, you can still right-click the program task or the icon and the shortcut in the menu, and you can run it as administrator at that time. Or you could go into the properties and change that setting to explicitly run it as administrator without you having to request it every time. But you know, why bother? Let's do it right here. Let's just click here and go ahead and add the registry key now. So then that way that's set and we're done. So the installation is complete and we can go and actually find it. I have a shortcut here on my start menu. If you didn't do so, you can always add that from the program area. You can find Project DogWaffle. Where is it? There it is. Project DogWaffle Howler. Let's make sure we find it and then run it. Now, if you want to double check whether it's running as administrator, you can right click from here as well and look in properties, and you'll see it under compatibility. And in compatibility, sure enough, you see the privilege level, run this program as administrator. All right, so that does that, and you should also have the shortcut on your desktop if you asked for that, and you should now be able to find it right there and run it. So let's go run this. And one thing that you'll notice, let me make sure I resize that so we can see it in this capture. Full screen again. I don't want it full screen. I want it full scrapture area. There you go, screen capture. All right, so we have DogWaffle running here. And one thing we can see to recognize whether this is indeed running 8.2, not your earlier versions, maybe 6 or 7 if you still have those installed. One thing you can see is that there is a swap buffer toggle right here. So when you click this, you can see that indeed it draws into one or the other buffer. And you can see them both at the same time just by blending here, of course. That's something that we just recently introduced in 8.2. So if you're seeing this icon, that tells you you are running 8.2. You can also verify it right here under the help menu and keyboard shortcut reference. No, not that. There. About Howler. And you'll see version 8. Down here, Skyox Egret, and 8.2 just before that. It's generation 3, release 8.2. So that's how you verify that you are indeed running 8.2. And now it's time to enjoy.